provides a platform for women of all walks of life to share their upbringings, life lessons learned, experiences, and journeys to come. Uncommon Women speaks on topics that can relate to all women. We share, we listen, we laugh, we cry, and we empower each other to be the best uncommon woman that they can be. Ultimately, we are cultivating a global movement of women supporting women. Women supporting entrepreneurship, relationships, self love, and so much more. We inspire each other to make an impact on this world for the better. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Uncommon Women. Now, finally, grab a seat, get comfortable, and hear from your wonderful hosts, Tiniera and Jenny Lee. Hi, Kings and Queens. Thank you so much for tuning in to Uncommon Women. I'm Tiniera.
And I'm Jenny Lee.
And today we have an amazing guest speaker that's going to come on with us in just a moment. It's actually also our last guest speaker for the season, so I'm super excited to have Tiniera on our platform today to share her testimony. Tiniera Green is actually a 36-year-old who's going to share her journey and how she once lost herself battling depression and gained over 100 pounds in 2 years. And I believe her story is so powerful because she'll be sharing how she found herself through healing and working out. Before we get into her story, I did want to show a before and after picture of Tiniera, of how she once was 100 pounds over within 2 years, and how she actually was able to work out and just empower herself and motivate herself into getting back into a healthier lifestyle and being able to come on today's platform and share her story. So, Tiniera, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for coming on our platform and being able to share your testimony. Before we get into your testimony today, can you tell us a fun fact about yourself?
Well, first, I just want to thank you guys for having me. I'm really excited to be here on the Uncommon Women platform. I appreciate you kind of opening your doors to me. But a fun fact about myself, I'm extremely goofy. You know that, Shania. I'm extremely goofy. I love to
Yes,
laugh.
yes.
Laughing is my favorite. I make a lot of jokes. I'm really hilarious. And I know some people think I'm not funny, but that's a lie. I'm extremely funny. So that's a fun fact.
I agree. You definitely are funny. Some of the reels that I caught with you during the pandemic had me trying to figure out how to do TikTok. Wasn't able to do it. But I appreciate your skills with the talents that God's provided for you to be able to just, get up there and be yourself and do those reels. So thank you. She's hilarious. Make sure y'all go check her out. I don't know if you want to drop those reels out there, but make sure y'all go check her out. She is funny. So I don't think that's a fun fact. I think a lot of people that follow you know that you're funny. So we appreciate it.
I gotta go check them out then. I like a good laugh.
You do. She's hilarious. So before we get into your story and your journey, can you tell us a little bit about your life? How was it growing up and things like that?
Yeah, so I mean, I grew up in Coatesville, Pennsylvania, very small city. One of those cities where kind of everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows your mom, your dad, your cousins. Everybody knows everybody. I think I would say my upbringing was dynamic. My parents were like two, just completely different. My mother was very devout Christian and very, we went to church 7 days a week. It was serious. And then my dad was the opposite of that. He was a religious skeptic. His favorite kind of pastime is to study other religions and then talk to people within that religion and ask them a lot of questions to stump them. So kind of having that duality in my life created a very interesting human. And I'm one of 8. So I have a very big family. I've got 3 sisters and 4 brothers. And I'm kind of at the end of that. I'm number 6. So, I was a lot of hand-me-downs, a lot of being the little sister and having the little sister syndrome type thing. I think my family was really, really close. We've always been really, really close. We're still close to this day. And then, you know, we had a really tragic thing happen when my father passed when I was 19. You know, coming from always having a mom and a dad to your dad no longer being there, and your family's kind of thrown in disarray. That's kind of how that worked out essentially. Fortunately enough, you know, I have wonderful brothers who kind of stepped up and just, you know, took like head of the family and just kind of let us down and brought us back together. And, you know, as we were hurting, kind of working through that process. You know, I was super young at the time, 19. It's actually the anniversary of my dad's death today, 17 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
so
That's a coincidence.
Yes,
Wow.
but I think it's a you know, that's almost like his little sign to me, like, you know, I still got you. So I would say
Right.
through that process, me and my siblings got even closer, honestly. After my father passed, we got, you know, like super close. But for me, it was always a goal to leave Coatesville. You know what I mean? I love my family. I'm super close to them. I love being around them. But I really wanted to leave this area. I really wanted to like explore the world. You know, that was always what I just everything I wanted. That was my dreams from a child, you know. And that was kind of what led me to join the military for the most part.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I joined the military.
And how was your experience in joining the military?
I like the military. I love the training. I love how it tests your kind of mental toughness. I love, you know, I loved weapons training. I really enjoyed shooting firearms. That's a good time.
Oh, you're a little crazy. Okay.
And I'm a good shot. Thank you. But I really enjoyed my time in the military, and that's where I met my husband. We kind of met. We had the same job. We went through training together, and that's kind of, funnily enough, when we first met, I was 0% interested in him. 0%. He had to work on me. He had to put some time in. You know, he had to, you know, put some efforts in. But eventually, we kind of, as we went our separate ways, you know, he was off to Fort Bragg, and I was off to Fort Indiantown Gap. That's when we kind of connected, as it was more so long distance, which is strange. But but yeah, I loved my time in the military for sure.
Okay.
That's so dope. And to hear that you wanted more and actually took the chance and leap to actually, you know, join the military, and you did have the opportunity to be able to see more than just Coatesville. Some people, you know, we talk about what we want to do, but don't actually, you know, take heed to actually doing it. So I love that you had the encouragement within yourself to actually just take faith and actually leave your family, because you have a big family. So I can't say I can imagine. I know your family, but you guys are very close. So for you to be apart from them, I know that was hard as well, right?
Oh, that was a major adjustment. It was really, because I became a recluse for a little bit, because, you know, I'm so used to having like my sisters to call, and you know, and at that point I didn't. So it was funny because when me and my husband, when we got married and we moved to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, he would get me my friends. He would literally go out and get me he would have friends that he would be like, her wife, you would get along. You guys, I'm telling you, you would get along. She writes poetry.
Recruiting. He was recruiting.
He was just making sure, you know, that you have friends.
He wanted to make sure you were good. That's what that was. He was out there recruiting friends.
But I met some really great women, actually. Some people that I'm still connected with now. That was, you know, 11 years ago.
That's
so
awesome.
You know, so that was a positive thing. Which we weren't married for very long before babies popped out. You know, so after we got married, we weren't trying to have a baby, but we weren't careful either. You know, it was like whatever.
It happened.
Yeah. During my first pregnancy with my son, I was just elated because, you know, I waited a while to have kids. A lot of, you know, my friends had kids at like 21 and 20 and things like that. I had my first at 27. So I was like, I'm so excited, you know, and But when I was in the military, it's a lot of pressure to hold your weight down, right? Because what people don't know about the military is you do have height weight requirements, other than a PT test. So for your height and your age, there's a kind of a maximum weight that you're allowed to be, essentially. And not that they'll, just expel you, but it will hold you back, career wise, from like promotions and different things like that. So, it was a lot of pressure at that time to really, honestly, even though I was pregnant, still work out, still try to maintain, and really make sure that once the baby was here, that I could kind of jump back into things.
Okay.
But unfortunately, I had a really difficult pregnancy. Most people have like a little morning sickness. I had like massive all day sickness, to the point where I couldn't even swallow my saliva because I was so nauseous that even swallowing my own saliva would make me throw up. It would, yeah. So I had a spit cup. It was gross. But we got through it. But then, I started having some complications, just like cramping here and there. And then the cramping got excessive, honestly. And that was towards around like 19 weeks, coming around halfway through the pregnancy. And I was expressing this to my doctor, and they're just, their constant kind of retort was, drink more water. It's dehydration, right?
Wow,
Which is the Army's favorite saying: drink water, drink water, and take Motrin. That cures everything. But so, I'm getting reassurance from the doctor that just drink more water. You're dehydrated because of the nausea, because you're vomiting a lot, because you can't hold a lot down. But one night the cramping got so bad that I like literally couldn't take it. And so I went to the military hospital. They didn't do a pelvic exam. At this point, I was 21 weeks. They didn't perform a pelvic exam. They took blood and then, and my vitals, and they said, well, it seems like maybe you're just dehydrated and you need to, and you need to just drink some water and, and just lay down. So they sent me home. So I went home and I tried to kind of like lay down and drink water and just like relax. But then it continued to get so much worse. And just over the time, it was just getting worse. And I was like, we need to go to the civilian hospital. So then me and my husband got in the car and we drove to the civilian hospital. I'm in so much pain at this point. I'm like delirious, honestly. When we got inside the hospital, he had to kind of like do all of it, check in, do all this extra stuff. And then they took me kind of back to check me. They called the OB nurse down. And as soon as she kind of did the kind of vaginal check, she said, oh, she's 4 centimeters dilated.
Wow.
And it was like, let's take her upstairs. She's having this baby, and at that time, I knew that there was no way that my child could possibly make it being born at 21 weeks, 21 and a half weeks. But I still had like the hope, right? Like I still had the hope that maybe even they could stop the labor, right? Unfortunately that did not happen. When I went upstairs, they gave it to me really raw. They said, the nurse, she held my hand and she said, we can't stop the labor. We can't, at this point, you're too far along, and, you're going to have this baby and we're not equipped. You know what I mean? So that was a hard pill to swallow. Excuse me. I get a little emotional. I called my mom. I'm on the phone with my mom. I'm just like crying and just telling her like, my baby's coming. I don't know what's happening. Like, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. My mom, being the mom she is, she's in Pennsylvania. I'm in North Carolina. She gets in the car and drives to me.
Wow.
And I'm tearing through labor, no medication. And it was like, I don't know, the baby waited for my mom to get there. It was like, as soon as my mom got there, my water broke, and and I had to push him out. So, as I'm pushing him out, my mom's there, my husband's there. I'm pushing him out, and he's alive, he's moving, you can't hear him, but he's alive, his eyes is open, and he's moving, and then when they cut the umbilical cord, they cut his lifeline essentially.
Right.
In that moment for me was like, I'll never forget that moment. Excuse me.
It's okay, take your time.
Yeah, so that was a really difficult time for me, honestly, and my husband too. And I honestly, my hat's off to him, because he really stayed strong for me. He definitely did. And honestly, there was no way I was going to make it through that without him. But after that, honestly, I was so depressed. I just didn't want to live anymore. I stopped. Like, I was breathing, my body was working, but I stopped living. Like, I would do the requirements, and then I would come home and I would just lay on the couch, just lay there, no TV on, anything. I couldn't sleep in the bed, because it was like when I slept in the bed at night, that's the most that I felt him move a lot, and he would, squirm around and be active. And so I just couldn't lay in the bed. I couldn't be there. And my husband at the time, he was my rock. He would literally pick me up. He would pick me up off the couch and make me live again. He would make me shower. He would make me eat. He would make me, leave the house. He would make me go places, and then sometimes he would just lay with me. Sometimes he would just lay with me and just be there with me. And I think that tethered, us essentially in that moment. Like, I definitely would not have, or I don't think that I would have gotten out of it without him.
Right.
And not that my family wasn't there, but they were so far,
Right.
that they could only be there minimally, essentially, but that was really when I was done with the military, because I felt very much so like they didn't care. It was like right after I had my baby, I was sitting in formation, and they're like, okay, well, I'm calling out names, and you have to take a PT test. Cool. And then they call my name out. So I go into the area, and I'm like, yeah, top. Well, that's the first sergeant. First sergeant, I cannot take a PT test, and he's like, well, why can't you take a PT test? I'm like, at that moment, I was so raw. I just burst into tears. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I just had a
still
baby.
recovering. Right.
And that right there, I was just done, honestly. So I knew that I wanted to be out of the military, and I knew that I wanted to separate from that point. But it's not that easy with the Army. You can't just quit. It's not like a civilian guy. You're like, I'm done. Yeah. No, you can go to jail.
It's procedure, right?
They're gonna hit you. They're gonna forget you. It's called AWOL. No,
right.
Yeah.
But through that, after that, me and my husband, we wanted to try again. After we kind of got back into being okay, being in a better place, we really wanted to try again. And it didn't take long. I'm fertile. So,
congratulations.
Yeah.
So I was pregnant very soon after with my baby girl, Gavin. And that pregnancy, I was neurotic, honestly, because I was so afraid of the same thing happening, right? Knowing at that point, because before I got pregnant, I had no idea that that my cervix was, would they say incompetent cervix, meaning, as the baby gets a little heavier, it kind of just wants to give out, right? So I had no idea before that. So after that, it was like I was so neurotic, and I had to have an ultrasound like every single week, where they would, check my cervix, make sure everything was closed, make sure, we're good. And those weekly visits were important because I was crazy. Like I'm just like feeling all like, is the baby okay? Is this baby
Everything is like,
every single thing. I had the heart monitor. I could hear the heart. Like I was a psycho,
No,
like,
you were a concerned mom. You wanted to prevent on your own because I guess you felt like they let you down in a sense because they're like, oh, well, just drink water. So you were just being precautious on your end, making sure that you could do everything that you could do as a mom to make sure that this pregnancy went right, And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't call yourself crazy.
There's also a lot of self-blame in it, I think, because when you go through the loss of a child, especially when you feel it has to do with you, like it was my body that malfunctioned, right?
Yeah. Right.
You feel very responsible, you know what I mean? And it's really hard in a very long process to forgive yourself, right? To like move past it and say,
bounce back, right?
Yeah.
You don't know what you don't know until you do know, you know? And you cannot be angry with yourself for being ignorant, and so I had to walk myself through that process as well during the pregnancy of my first daughter. I will say, the pregnancy was, as it was, I was still sick with that one as well. But when I had her, I did end up having to have an emergency C-section.
Okay.
But I will tell you, the moment she came out, I heard the cry. I cried too. We cried together. We cried together, and you know how they do if you have your baby and they bring the baby over to you.
In the skin,
But I, of course, because I had to finish the surgery, I didn't get to hold her for a while. I still knew that I wasn't the first person to hold her, but it is what it is.
Oh, so you weren't able to do the skin to skin.
Afterwards I was able to do skin to skin when I breastfed. I was trying to breastfeed and kind of go through that. But I think that baby, Gavin, she gave me new life. She gave me new life right there. And I was able to actually get out of the military through her, because when you're pregnant and there's a process that you can take where you can get out.
Okay. So she was kind of a blessing too. Well, double blessing.
Yeah, double blessing. And that was around the time that we had moved to Europe. We moved to Italy, and with my little newborn baby, about 3-4 months, and we're just like in this new world where I don't speak the language. But I loved it there. I adore Italy. It is an amazing, beautiful place. I lived in Vicenza, was about 45 minutes from like Venice. So it's like northern Italy.
Okay.
It was a beautiful place. And I would say the country just has an amazing culture. I love the culture there. It's family oriented. Like when I have my babies there, people would come around and they'd be like, oh, boom, she's so beautiful, little baby. And it's like all the time, and you get special treatment, because I got pregnant with my second daughter while we were in Italy. And when you're pregnant in Italy, you're a princess. You're a princess because they let you in front of everything, like literally, like
it's like royalty.
We went to a restaurant and my husband went in there to check, and they're like, oh, it's like a 45-minute wait. And then I stood up there, with my big belly, and I was like huge. And they're like, oh, is your wife? She pregnant? Oh no, come now. I was like, oh, this is what pregnancy gets you. Okay.
Like, I'm pregnant.
I'm pregnant. You don't know, like.
All you gotta do is just show the belly, and there it is.
Show the belly. That's all. Just rub on it. Rub it, accentuate. Let them know that.
Yes.
But even small children. When I had after I had Gabriella, who was also born by emergency C-section. Life is funny. When we went to Paris to the Louvre, we got literally pushed down to the front of the line because I had a stroller and a baby.
Mm-hmm.
I said, look, I can get used to this now. Don't play with me. I can get used to this. But I think the biggest thing is what I realized was after I had kind of both my girls, um, they gave me a beautiful distraction, if that makes sense. Because after I had them and I'm kind of just living life, I feel like all of the depression kind of folded on me,
Okay.
it just folded onto me. And then there's that added piece of now being a stay-at-home wife and mother. And I was still in school at the time as well. So I'm going through school and taking care of the little people. I additionally had a little daycare business that I was running and doing my thing.
Okay.
But I just felt it was, I don't even know what the feeling was. I didn't feel like myself. I felt like I was lost and I had no idea who this person was. And I was just going through the motions of everything, loving on my babies. Right. And me and my husband. And at that time in Italy, we were going through a rough patch. We were going through a little bit of a rough patch. And I think anytime I talk to women who are newly married, I let them know that you have to stress to people. I think that, and this is something that people don't talk about, when you're in a relationship and when you get married, after you have children, the dynamics of that relationship change, right? And you have to be prepared for how those dynamics change.
Right.
And so you're able to maneuver through that. That just wasn't context that I had before, the experience. So I would say it was a rough process. It was a very rough process. And I'll be talking to my sister on the phone, just kind of telling her how I'm feeling. And it was just, for me, it wasn't just the weight. It wasn't just the weight, even though that was a large part of it. It was also, now I'm a mother and now I'm a wife and I'm always someone else's.
Balance everything.
Right. I'm someone else's something. I'm never just me.
Just me.
Right? Okay. And so I feel like that hit me super hard. And hating the way I look did not help. Gaining 100 pounds through each pregnancy. I throughout the last 2 pregnancies, I was on partial bed rest, meaning I didn't have to lay down all day, but I wasn't able to work out. I wasn't able to walk long distances. I wasn't able to really carry anything over 10 pounds, lift anything. They're like, we want you to walk from one seat to the next seat,
and that's it.
And in that moment, you don't care about the weight. You're just like, I just want my baby here. I just want my baby here. I want to be healthy. If I got to gain 40 pounds, that's what it is, Jack, but after the kids, that's when it comes. It's like, how in the world did I gain 100 pounds? I was at my heaviest. I actually don't know what my heaviest was because I was too scared to get on the scale. I was too afraid to really see. I was too afraid to know.
Wow.
So before I got on the scale, I was like, I'm gonna try a little something. I'm gonna, change the way I eat. I'm going to start working out a few times a week. And once I started doing that, I got more depressed because the weight wasn't coming off. I was in a calorie deficit, about 2,500 calories a day. And I was working out about 4 times a week, as much as I could with the little people, and school and the business. So, but the weight was not budging, and so I made an appointment with my doctor. I'm like, I want to check and make sure everything's good, So I went to the doctor and, she took blood work and kind of, did the whole physical. And then when we sat down, she's like, well, it looks like you're perfectly healthy. Like, we don't see any problems, and I started crying. I'm like, I don't care. This weight got to go.
This is me. Right.
Yeah, that's not what I'm here for. No. in that moment, I was like, I was telling her, I was like, well, I've been doing this, I've been doing that, I've been doing this. And I've been doing this for 2 months and the weight's not really going anywhere. Cause at that point I had got on the scale because, you get a physical, you had to get on the scale. I was about 259 at that point. Right.
Wow.
And I'm like, at this size, during the life change that I had, I should have saw a drastic, at least a 20-pound, drop or something.
Yeah.
So the doctor, she goes, well, there are surgical ways to help you, like the gastric sleeve. And she said, well, your insurance will also cover that. And I thought about it, but I was like, absolutely not. No. Because in my mind, it's not something that's out of my control. This is something that is in my control. And this is something that, I could do that and it would be helpful. But I'd rather do it natural. I'd rather do it natural and
You
go
wanted
through
the reward. You wanted more of the reward.
Yeah.
And also I just felt like, I'm mentally strong enough to do this. It's hard, but I can do it. I can do this. I've been in the military. I've been doing some crazy stuff. Trust me, that training was crazy. Like I can do this. I didn't slept in the woods for 3 days under a poncho tied to 2 trees in the ditch. I can do this. Okay?
I can do this.
But it was a process. And really what I was going to the doctor for was information, honestly, like resources, like let me talk to a nutritionist, tell me what I can do. I didn't want a surgical intervention. And I just think that that's very interesting that you go to a doctor and they don't give you natural holistic ways to address what you're going through.
Yeah.
The fast way out. I'm shocked about that too. They're basically just telling people to get this done instead of actually trying to work it out. They wanted people to take the easy way out.
And not that, that process doesn't have its own complications. And, you do have, there are processes that you have to do when you get that, but it does, help you out to a degree. So after that, I went through a couple different phases. There was this, girls group that we had put together of a bunch of women, military wives that we all were working out. Like we would go to the park with our little kids and we would like work out and do this and that. And then me and one of the women in the group, her name is Martinique. Hey Martinique, are you watching? Her and I got really close. We got really, really close. And then it was just me and her. It was me and her shooting in the gym. We was in the gym every single day. Some days she didn't go or I didn't go, but we were still there. Like accountability partners are very helpful. I would tell you that. Having an accountability partner to like keep you, hey, you're not working out today? Why not? Where are you at? Because there was days where I really didn't want to go. And a lot of days I did want to go, but there were some days I really didn't want to. I was tired, and she would be like, she would, send me that text and I'd be like, let me get up, let me get up, let me do this, let me go. And I would say I really needed that because at that time I really didn't get support from my spouse, like I told you, we were in Italy, we were going through, a rough phase, and it would be like, he goes to work and he does his thing and then he comes home, dinner's done, I make sure everybody's fed, and then I'm tailing to the gym. Like, I'm at the gym. But that became a fight. Like going to the gym became a fight. It became a reason for us to argue. It became something that we're arguing about. And, it would have been easier, like, okay, well, I'm not going to go to the gym. I'm going to stay home. But, I wanted what I wanted. And what I wanted was to lose that weight, So I think it's really great if you have support from your spouse and your person. But even if you don't, I think it's important to just stick to it, you
Yeah.
know, like persevere through that, because sometimes you don't have anybody. Sometimes you don't
Right.
have a system, you know, sometimes you don't have anything, you know. Um, and at that time, I was feeling really good because I had lost like 40 pounds. And, you know, I was about half, you know, I was on my way, you know, I was on my way.
Uh-huh.
Um, but kind of I ended up, like everybody says, any process is not linear. You know,
That's right.
it's gonna have ebbs and flows, it's gonna have twists and turns. So during kind of the end of our time in Italy, Martinique had left. She had, you know, PCS somewhere else. And I had kind of relaxed a lot on kind of my behaviors, you know.
Okay.
And what people say is true. Working out, it improves your mood, it improves your happiness, you know, it improves the quality of life. And then also just that was a big thing for me, doing something for myself. Does that make sense? Because I
Mm-hmm.
at that
Yeah.
time being a wife, mom, you're doing everything for
And for
everybody
everybody
else.
else. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I felt really good about going to the gym every day, even though I didn't always want to, because I was doing something for myself. And
Yeah.
it was and I knew it was the only road to change. You know, I feel like it depressed me more being in the state that I was in, and not making any sort of efforts to get out of that, right? So even if it's not completely different tomorrow, if I'm putting in the behaviors that I know over a long period of time will get me where I want to be, for some, that gives me, that invigorates me, you know. um
Agree. Mm-hmm.
you know, because it's it is what it is. If nothing changes, nothing will change, you know. So you have to make those changes in order to make the change. But there was a lot of learning that went along with that process. Weight, you know, losing weight and learning about your body and what's healthy and what's not healthy and what's good and what's not good. There's a lot of information out there that you need to know, you know. So I
Yeah.
had to
Okay.
really,
Mm-hmm.
especially because my process was not easy. I had to read a lot. I had to learn about the body. I had to learn about nutrition. I had to learn about what foods were good and what foods were bad. You know, things that you think you would just automatically know, but you have to go into more depth about that, I think. And just understanding, you have to change your mindset. You really
Right.
do. I I really had to change the way that I looked at eating, how I associated myself with eating and with food, and what that meant to me, right? Like the doctor actually hit me with a wonderful thing. She said, "Oh, you have an eating disorder." Right? You automatically think it's, you know, anorexia or bulimia, right? But when you
Right.
have a very strange relationship with food, that is also a form of an eating disorder.
Huh.
Um,
And then
so I had to learn that essentially your body is a biological machine. That's what it is. It's a flesh and blood machine. And just like any other machine, you have to maintenance it, right? Like any
right.
other machine. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I started seeing things differently, and then understanding that we look at food, we eat food for pleasure a lot of the times. We eat food
Mm-hmm.
for comfort. We eat food just for taste, right? We just, our palate. I want to
Right.
taste this, you know?
Yeah.
But I really had to change the way that I was looking at food. I had to change it because the reality is food is your fuel, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
right. Food is your fuel. It is there to give you energy. It is there to power your body to perform the necessary functions that it needs to perform. And when you're putting crap in your body doesn't perform as it should,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So in order to make sure that your body is working correctly and functioning 100% correctly, you have to put in the correct fuel, right?
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
changing the way I looked at food, changing the way I looked at eating was a large part of it. So not only just working on your body, also working on your mind. You know, you're working on the way that you see things, the way that you associate food and eating, and trying not to make that a burden. Honestly, I think it becomes a bigger burden when you look at it as a diet, right?
Mm-hmm. And not a
Um,
lifestyle. That's right.
Yeah. Mhm.
lifestyle. It For me, I yo-yoed so much with my eating until I committed to a lifestyle. You know, I tried different things here and there, different types of diets here and there, figuring this out and that out. And I'll be honest with you, the most, I would say the most lucrative thing that I found was intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting, it's wonderful. And there are some people that don't adhere to it because they'll say if you go off intermittent fasting, you'll gain the weight back. But what's interesting for me is intermittent fasting became a lifestyle. It became my lifestyle. That's how I live. I am an intermittent fasting person. And my body got so used to it that I would get hungry around the time I was supposed to eat. I wouldn't be hungry. So it would be like, as soon as I start feeling those cravings, I look at the time. Oh, it's time to eat, so your body reacts to what you put it through, whatever you tell it to do, it will do. You know what I mean?
Eventually adjust.
It will eventually adjust. It will. So I think, and then when we moved to Washington, I was kind of, I would say a little over halfway through the weight loss process, so I was about like 190s, kind of like going down, feeling good, but still like not at my goal, because it's interesting when you lose a lot of weight and you still have 40 pounds to lose. Do you know what I mean? That is the depressing part, right? Like when you have a massive amount of weight to lose, you really have to set small goals.
Okay.
Through those small goals is the only way you'll make it through, because if you have 60, 75 pounds to lose, after every difficult 10 pounds, you're like, I still have 40 more pounds. I still have 30, it's like, oh my God. You have to set those small goals, because the one thing I always say when there are a lot of women that reach out to me like off social media and ask me, questions, and I'm like, it does take a long time. It took me about a year and a half to lose 100 pounds. I can't say it doesn't happen in 8 months. I wish I had that story to tell. I don't, but what I say is the time's going to pass anyway, right?
With consistency too.
Right.
Yeah.
The time's going to pass. You're going to get to next year. You're going to get to next month, next week, next year. You're going to get there, right? But if you don't practice the right behaviors every single day, when you get there, you'll be in the exact same place you are now, right? But if you put in the behaviors, even if you go slow as a snail, right, you'll be in a different place in the future.
Right.
You just have to put in the work.
That's true.
Yeah.
Do you think your issue, well, not your issue, but your celebration of how you got to where you were was because you did the research of, mentally changing and then getting to the physical portion? Because a lot of people, we, typically just be like, well, let me just change my diet, but they actually don't do the research in regards to the nutritions that are good for their body, their fuel, in order for them to lose it. Because everybody's body's different. And,
Absolutely.
everybody's journey with weight losing is going to be different as well. So do you think that, motivated you more to lose the weight because you did the research?
I think it put me in the right lane, if that makes sense. And I think it also gave me the courage to know that I could get it done. When I feel like when I first started, I was just doing what I know, doing what I could. But the more the more the better you do. And so with that, it gave me the, the courage, and it gave me the confidence to keep going and be like, I can do this. I can do this. I know a lot. I'm talking to trainers and I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, they tell me stuff. Yeah, I know. Like, I'm aware. Like, so let's have a conversation, but
he's like, let me teach you a couple things, okay?
But I'm always down to help other people, because it's so hard. It's 0% easy, and when I was 250 pounds and I was trying to lose the weight, I really, really wanted to look to somebody who went through what I was embarking upon. Like there's a lot of wonderful fitness trainers who are wonderful, giving great information, and all that stuff is wonderful and it should continue. But for me, I wanted someone who wasn't going to tell me theories, but was going to tell me their experience, right? They could tell me from experience what I was looking forward to in this process. And that's what I wanted. And so that's why I was like, okay, I'll tell my story because maybe I can be that person for somebody else because I needed that person, right? I'm on Instagram searching for that person, like who lost about 100. I need to see,
right.
Even though in your mind you know that it works, you almost don't believe it's going to happen. So,
and it's hard to continuing to do it, because sometimes we do get in a funk where it's like, okay, you lost a pretty good amount, but you didn't reach your goal. And the amazing thing I love about that is you didn't give up. You didn't stop there. You kept on going. And that's hard for some people. Once they start seeing the results, they go back into the bad habits of eating unhealthy.
Exactly. Indeed.
Going back into the routine of being comfortable. So how did you continuing to do it? Like what motivated you to just keep going?
Well, I did that a little bit too. There was weeks where I was like, okay, I was eating whatever and I gained 10 pounds. All right, let's start anew. But it was just my desire to get where I wanted to be. Honestly, it was like, regardless of if I'm falling off, it's like, okay, it sucks that I gained 10 pounds. Awesome.
Right.
But if I don't get back on the ball, I'll probably gain another 10 pounds, right? Like,
right.
So for me, it was like, okay, I have to continue this process. Otherwise, I'm never going to get where I want to be. And then when I got there, I had to continue the process because I want to stay there. And then through that process, honestly, it just changed the way that I live. So this is the way that I live, right? I eat this way. This is just, I don't have any specific diet. I eat what's good for my body, and like I said, I look at food as my fuel. So what type of fuel do I need today, right? Do I need more energy? Do I need more vitamins? Like what type of fuel does my body need in this moment? And that's how I choose to eat.
I like how I love how you said that, you want to eat the things that are going to fuel your body. Certain people just, I'm going to eat this because this is going to make me feel better. It's like caffeine. Caffeine is going to give me the fuel that I need. And technically it doesn't, because you take the caffeine and next thing you know, you just drop. And I love how you took control. You took control. And I'm just like, this is enough. I'm going to take control and I'm going to do what I got to do to lose the weight. I love that.
Thank you. Coffee. I actually just recently quit coffee. I was an addict. But it has a lot of really negative effects on your body, and I'm like, I do what's good for my body, but I'm gonna have this coffee in the morning. I'm gonna have these 2 cups of coffee.
I ain't get rid of the coffee.
I had to switch to herbal tea. I had to. I'm okay. At first, oh my God, I was a baby about it. I hated tea. I'm like, this daggone tea. What no tea? Coffee.
I don't think I could get rid of. I'm with Omar. I don't think I could get rid of my coffee. I could never. Like we gonna go to war with that. I ain't getting rid of the morning coffee. You got ice, mocha. We got so many different types of coffee. Like,
I'm not much of a coffee drinker. I prefer tea. I like the coffee, but I don't drink too much of it. But I prefer tea. So.
I'm on the tea bandwagon now. I've got a couple.
Okay.
Don't fall off. I'm just saying.
Look, let me tell you, I was a 2 cup a day coffee drinker. Play with me.
We got some people that's 2 years clean. Okay, Nisha's over there. Congratulations for the 2 years clean, because I'm with Omar. I could never. Kudos to you, girl. Kudos to you.
Congratulations. I know how hard it is. Okay. Put your hat to the front.
I mean, I think it's hard, especially when you're used to drinking like a cup of coffee in the morning every day, and it's just it becomes a habit, and
Absolutely.
I think it's hard to like really, because it has the caffeine. I mean, some people drink decaf, but if you're a caffeine drinker when it comes to coffee, that's hard to get rid of. That's just something that you're so used to having, and it's a habit,
And you like the taste. I mean, I'm a coffee drinker, not just because of the caffeine, but I love the taste. I like the taste of coffee. I take it no sugar, a little cream.
No sugar? Oh, I
No
can't do
sugar.
that.
Oh no, I like the bitter taste. I don't know.
Oh no,
Now you take me down memory lane. Stop for have a relapse, okay?
All right. You're right. Shout out to the coffee drinkers. I ain't going nowhere. But if you could give advice to women who's lost a child, or battling stress, even being at a high risk of having a child, and then just trying to get yourself back to your original weight, what would it be, or what encouragement would you like to give to others?
Well, kind of, I'll answer that in two pieces.
Okay.
For the women that are, I guess, lost a child, I don't know that there's any advice. I don't know that there's anything that can make that better. The advice that I have is just for the people around that woman, right? Just
system.
love on her. Yeah. Just love on her and be there. And for the second piece, I would say, if you don't have a support system, you can find a support system. Now with social media and the internet, and just the possibility to connect with people, there are so many encouraging people out there that have gone through it. And I would say, staying connected to feeding yourself that information, if it makes sense, feeding yourself that courage, that encouragement, that positivity, that push forward, that tenacity, feeding yourself that, sticking, really connecting with people that are on that wavelength will really help you through the process. And I think if you stick with it, you'll find joy in it, not just the end result, but you'll find joy in the process. You'll start to fall in love with the process.
Great advice. I love that.
So do I. So with everything that, for losing your baby, gaining all this weight, the striving through and losing the weight, can you speak on your accomplishments and what you are doing in the community to encourage other women and other mothers out there, on transitioning and to helping them through familiar stories like yours?
Absolutely. So essentially, I do a lot of, I'm heavy on social media. I post kind of my I'm honest on there. I post my wins and losses, right? Like, so they've been asking me to do a day in the life. I promise it's coming. I swear it's coming. I've just been super busy. In addition to that, I am very heavily involved in my community. I'm a part of the Parks and Rec Commission for the city of Coatesville. And we're doing a lot of great things in the city, bringing programming to the parks in the unused spaces in the city. Just really, we revamped one of the beautiful parks. The rest of the parks are on the way as well. And we've got programs that we've got. We do typically maybe one event a month per year. In a line with Sundays in the Park, which just ended this fall. Please check it out on my social media page. But I think it's really important to be involved in your community. I think it's great to be passionate about the issues that are going on in the world and open those conversations and post about it. But it's also really important to get up and get involved and put yourself in a position that way your voice can be heard and you can actually affect change.
Okay. I love that. That's amazing. Awesome. Can you also speak on ways, not only just with women, not just like trying to get out there, lose the weight and being out there. Can you just give like, when you were in your marriage, especially when it comes to a spouse, how can they go about being able not, to work through that while they're going through depression?
As far as for the spouse's perspective?
Yeah.
So I would say just be as supportive as you can. Honestly, it's a really difficult process, and it's hard enough on you mentally, physically, emotionally, without having opposition from your partner, right?
Okay.
So just being there, being supportive, giving them the space to do what they need, even getting on board. If you can get on board with their eating practices, right? So she's not making two meals. I've been there making two different meals, one meal for myself, one meal for
Okay.
like my husband. So she's not having to, just involve yourself in the process as much as you can, and just kind of go with her.
Okay.
That's
awesome.
great advice.
That is. So
balance.
Yes, I agree. Definitely agree with that.
Yeah,
So
my
Tiniera,
best friend called me a moody, balanced woman.
I'm
gonna take it.
thank you so much for coming on and speaking on your story. And I hope, you definitely threw out some good jams, and hopefully someone takes heed to everything that you have spoken on this evening. So we have one question we ask all our guest speaker. What makes you uncommon?
Ooh, nice. I would say my only gift, and I'm going to quote Einstein, is I'm passionately curious. That's it. That's my only talent.
I like that. I like that.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh no, it's been a joy having you. Tiniera, do we have any more comments, questions from the audience?
We don't have any questions, just a few comments. Omar said it's either coffee or cupcakes in the mornings, so he's choosing coffee.
I'd say go with the coffee.
The recovered addict says that you got to replace it with something, so I'm just wondering what she replaced her coffee with. I guess it's the tea.
You have to replace it, because it's just like, well, I'm drinking air. What? No.
Maybe it's water. Maybe she replaced the water. I'm not sure.
It's got to be hot too. It's got to be hot.
That's funny.
And just some other supporters. We have Amber. Hi, Amber. Thank you for tuning in. Tina, thank you so much for tuning in into this episode. We have Lynn. Thank you so much for tuning in. So just some support. You definitely have an amazing support system out there. I'm gonna have to steal some of your support in case I need some in my future.
I've got enough to go around.
Hi, Jenny.
Thank you again. There goes another comment. All
types of teas. All types of teas. All right, got you.
I can give you my favorites,
Thank you again, Tiniera. It was an honor. I'm hearing your story. Keep doing what you're doing, and and just inspiring women and encouraging them. So I'm going to close out. Thank you to our viewers that were listening in this evening. Make sure you go out and check out our apparel. We definitely check out our winter hoodies. They're nice and warm for the winter time. You can go check them out at www.uncommonwomen.net, as well as if you want to be a guest speaker for next coming season, for season 6. You can also go to the website that's on the screen as well. If you want to contact us, you can email us at uncommon3women@gmail.com. And also, we have a special event coming up November 19th. I Love Myself seminar. You can purchase your tickets at Tickets are $25. And it is an in-person event. You can go to the website. Go to the link. I Love Myself seminar at eventbrite.com. It's also on the screen shown there. And this will be next week. Will be our last episode of the season. And everyone, make sure you come check us out next week and stay uncommon. Bye.